Welcome back, everybody, to the East Side Sauce episode 7, almost to that anticipated episode 10. As always, I'm your host, Jack Woods.
And I'm JB Houston.
We have a show for you guys today. First, as always, we got to talk about coronavirus because it's basically the only thing happening now.
Yep.
JB, how's that looking?
It's finally starting to look up. Obviously, the quarantine is being slowly lifted. The United States is apparently spending about $1.2 billion to research a vaccine from a company called AstraZeneca. $30,000. I'm all over the place, man. 30,000 person trial is starting this summer in the United States. So that's finally some good news.
This is what I'll say. It's that I don't think, for weeks they've been saying, like, the quarantine's about to be lifted. It's about to be lifted. I don't think anything's going to happen until the vaccine's made, honestly.
Do you think that's a good thing, or do you think that that's...
I think that they should stop saying the quarantine's about to be lifted, and they should just, because the problem is that, definitely these past 2 weeks, people have been going outside a lot more. I remember last week we had the Navy graduation, and I had sponsored family here. City dock was crowded. There were so many people down there. It looked like it was like a normal July day.
Yeah, we've been out on the boat. We went down there, Diego Alley and stuff, and it was packed down there too. A lot of people not wearing masks.
So I just think that instead of them saying, like, I remember 2 weeks ago, people were saying the quarantine's going to be lifted by the 15th of May or something like that.
Right.
And when we get here saying, sorry, that information is wrong, our new information is saying it's going to be another 2 weeks. I think they should just stop saying it's going to be lifted and say, no, keep sticking to the quarantine mandated rules until we have a proven way to slowly ease back into normal life. And I don't think that's going to happen till a vaccine gets made.
Gotcha. Other corona news, the International Olympic Committee decided that the Tokyo Olympics will be straight up canceled if they aren't held in 2021. That's a big one. The only time that the Olympics have been canceled previously was once for World War I and twice for World War II. So that would be big if they got canceled.
Yeah, and I also wonder, so they were supposed to be held in 2020.
Yeah.
I wonder, if they get canceled or if they're held in 2021, will the next Summer Olympics still be held in 2024, or would they go 4 years from when they're held?
I'm not sure, actually. That would be an interesting scenario for the committee to be put in, because if you stick to the 4-year schedule, obviously it'd be nice. But then again, you'd be taking away a lot of preparation time, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I know usually, Tokyo was chosen from before last Olympics were held back in 2016.
Right.
So I definitely think that like consistency, especially with this tradition that's been going on for so long, it would probably be better to have the next ones be 2024 to like keep the history alive, I guess. But at the same time, I haven't heard where the next one is supposed to be held after Tokyo, because for most cities they have to build like entire like arenas, and that takes several years of preparation and then construction to do.
The Olympics alternate every 2 years, by the way, not 4 years. Winter Olympics.
No,
Isn't it Winter Olympics every 4 years or something?
no, they're both every 4 years. There is an Olympic every 2 years.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying the next Summer Olympics will be held 4 years from now.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, well, whereas the next Winter Olympics are held 2022 because the last ones were 2018.
Yeah. Gotcha. So, other corona news, there's quite a bit. High school seniors in South Korea are returning to school. Temperature checks are mandatory, I would assume.
What I've heard is that South Korea did a fairly good job with the containment, mainly because, they're pretty isolated as they are already because they have They have Japan out to the west, which is island, and then North Korea was north of them,
Not many people are
which had
leaving or
not
entering
many
North Korea.
cases. Yeah. So, and also what I've heard, so they were pretty isolated already. I think that definitely them and other areas are going to be reopening soon.
Yeah, I know that the state of Maryland, which is where we live, obviously got a bunch of personal protective equipment from South Korea a couple weeks ago. So they
Yeah.
just have extras, which is, I guess, a good sign for them.
Mhm.
Next topic, more studies performed on monkeys this time, not vaccines, but it was looking into whether or not you are immune to the virus once you get it one time and beat it. New studies show that that is the case. So once you're infected one time, hopefully you'll be good. I'm sure they'll start moving into studies on humans soon, but this is definitely good news.
I believe that's the antibody test that they were doing
Right.
because that's what happens most time is when you're first infected, you have your body fights back and then basically
You're immune.
makes a yeah, you may have an immunity because it's just basically throwing the same thing at your immune system twice. And I think that that'll definitely be good for um, predicted second wave later this year that scientists are believed to happen towards fall and winter time.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
as you said, this only affects those who have already been infected. Unless you have it, um, you're still as likely to get it second time around.
Right. So on the topic of reopening, lifting quarantine, do you believe that it is time to reopen, Jack?
No, no, I'm going to say the same thing I've been saying for 2, 3 weeks now. No, I don't think so.
Stay locked down?
I mean, I'm going to say it again. My crazy 2 week full military mandated quarantine doesn't sound too crazy now.
Jack
You
wants
know
us to go full dictatorship.
exactly. Well, what's it called when the military completely takes over?
Martial law?
Martial law. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that would suck, and I don't think you could get enough people behind it with what we knew. But that would,
But dude, like, think about it. They have the tanks. You just have some of the National Guard rolling down your street. You're not going outside. No, 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 no.
it's almost
Or
like the founding
just,
fathers thought about that scenario and wrote it into the Constitution or something. Oh,
or we could just do what the Simpsons did. Just all the major hot zones, just put bombs around them.
yeah, it'd be fine. No big
But
deal.
like all of New York, or I don't think we should be reopening yet. Looking at you, Florida. 'Cause I think that the sooner you reopen, the longer this is going to last. If that makes sense, it's that the longer it's going to take to entirely snuff this thing out.
Yeah, that's
Whereas I
true.
think that if we wait until um, scientists, mainly scientists, not the government, when the scientists say that it's fine and we can start going outside, uh, I think that's when it's going to be best to go back to normal life.
I agree. I, however, I don't think that it is feasible for us to wait to reopen entirely
So
until it's
it's not.
100% safe.
I mean, it's not gonna once. I mean, you said it like you went down on your boat. I went down to city dock. People are gonna be outside, especially as temperatures start to warm up. I
Right.
think we hit 70 for the first time
We hit
last
80. We
weekend.
hit 80 last week.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, dude. Once June and July roll around, if this thing like it could get worse,
Hmm.
and people will still be going to the beach. More people will go to the beach.
Yeah, that's true. But like I said last episode, we got to get this economy rolling somehow. There's got to be a way that we can get money moving
Wait,
around.
JB, listen to me. Economics major here, bro. Just print more money, okay?
It worked for Germany, so
Exactly.
just paper. More news.
Gotta do that.
On the topic of kind of climate change, human behaviors affecting All right, I'll be honest with you. It has nothing to do with this. This was a terrible segue. Los Angeles planned a hydrogen plant that will take recycled paper and turn it into fuel, somehow using plasma torches. Is what I read. I think the fuel is hydrogen, obviously, and this is a great solution because if it is possible, it will take care of greenhouse gas emissions from coal plants or burning natural gas, and
For
it will
sure.
also take care of waste removal because it's obviously paper.
It's like that scene from Back to the Future 2 when Doc just takes like the banana peels and throws them in the back of the DeLorean. The
Yeah,
thing powers up. Genius.
yeah,
Uh, that's cool. I think that it's like a hydrogen plant, so it's that like nuclear kind of thing.
hmm
Something like, yeah, I think that, and also I wonder with dropping gas prices, actually they've started to rise again a little bit. Which is another sign that people have been going outside more.
hmm
Um, it'll be weird to see how much support renewable resources have since fossil fuels are going to be so cheap for the foreseeable future.
yeah. We'll throw an article about how it works because clearly none of us are physicists. We're 15-year-old kids. Um, so references on the screen now. Pew pew pew. They're up there.
Sound effects.
Yeah. So if we can pull it off, that would be a very good thing. Unfortunately, we'd have to find a way to convert that hydrogen back into uh, usable fuel if we were to power cars and stuff with it. Clearly, hydrogen powered vehicles do not work very well.
Actually, speaking of that, Volvo, remember a few years back tried to make a hydrogen car.
Nissan and Toyota, I believe, tried it too.
Yeah, remember remember it because they all the news articles were labeling it as the Tesla killer because it came out. They were planning it around the same time the Model 3 came out,
hmm
and obviously it never happened. It's such a like weird thing that I bet we've seen is how I mean I bet you've seen it. Like all the car and like all the car magazines and all like the
hmm
whenever a new brand of car comes out with an EV vehicle, they always label it as a Tesla killer, and then it either never comes out or it comes out and it has trash specs.
Yeah, it's been happening forever. It was Hyundai and Honda, by the way, that created the hydrogen cars. But I
Uh,
remember showing you a car and driver article in the back of or Spanish class in like seventh grade of a Tesla killer too.
and
They've
then I think most recent one was Porsche.
Yeah, the
Uh,
Taycan Turbo or
Taycan,
something.
which looks good on paper, but it what are they saying? It's going to cost like $250,000.
I think the only advantage that it had over Tesla's was that it could do repeated launches at full power, whereas a Tesla needs time to cool down for a bit. But the average
Yeah,
person isn't going to be doing
yeah.
dozens
Unless
and
you're like,
dozens of track runs.
yeah, I just think it's like clickbaity for articles because
hmm
every single, I bet you every single electric vehicle that has ever come out since Tesla started gaining popularity has at least in one article been called a Tesla killer. Then I mean, you don't hear about it.
Oh yeah, it's 100% clickbait. If like
Yeah,
if Porsche came out with an electric car, obviously it would get buzz. But once you start comparing it to the biggest electric car ever created, uh, one of the best luxury cars too that was ever created, it you just get more clout from it.
yeah, for sure. I just thought that's a weird thing that cars always do, and then
Yeah, we never
uh never have their promises. They never fill them.
the Porsche's definitely stuck around longer than most other Tesla killers, but I have a feeling that's just because it was already a well-established brand.
Has the Taycan even come out yet? I remember it
Um,
was rumored, or the uh, like stage press announcement came, I think, like a month or two before this whole pandemic started.
I think you
So
can buy one.
uh,
Yeah, they range from well, they start at $103,000 and they go up to 185, but I'm sure that price will go way up.
yeah, I mean looking at the specs, I mean, I think it's a four-seater or even a two-seater almost. It looks like I mean, it's a low car.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's a four door.
it's a
So
four.
yeah,
But I mean, like, you're not going to see that in your neighbor's driveway.
exactly.
Um, yeah, and I think its main thing is going to be going up against the Roadster, which
Yeah, because that 185 for the Turbo S, that's
yeah,
twenty
I
thousand
mean,
dollars
specs, if
off.
you look at it, I think the Roadster still beats it on paper. I think the 0 to 60 for the Taycan's like in the low 2.0s, where the Roadster is clocked at like 1.9 or something. I
It's
think
got
it
a
beats it in range.
The Turbo S has a 2.4 second 0 to 60 time.
Of course. So yeah, I mean,
But you got to remember, you can buy a Taycan right now. You can't buy a Roadster.
true, but I mean, also with the current climate of here's when you're going to get it.
That's true. Um, a lot of people, a lot of car people love to hate on Tesla. For some reason, Porsche hasn't gotten the same kind
Yeah,
of hate.
especially with the Cybertruck that came out. It was on. It was there were like two big sides of the conversation. It's either you loved it or you hated it.
See, I was squarely in the loved it category. I think that like, if you ask someone from 1980 to draw a futuristic car,
Yeah,
it'd be
that's
pretty damn
what
close to a Cybertruck.
I think that it was made. Um, America trucks are I believe they're the highest. It's the highest bought range vehicle. I think trucks make up the largest percent.
The Ford
Um,
F-150 is the best-selling vehicle of all time in America.
and I think that from artistic perspective, I think it's amazing. I think it's cool that there's something different.
Right.
From a business perspective, I don't think it was the best idea, especially with the target demographic. Um, like if you, especially, I think we've talked about this in one of our first episodes. That if you look at what trucks have looked like from the past 50 years, they all look the same, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all the same general
It's
shape.
very hard to tell them apart. And then, so if you buy a truck and you've bought trucks before, you're very comfortable with the shape and how it performs, like the dimensions of it, how it handles, and all that. And then when this new car comes along, especially from a company that's never made trucks before,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks nothing like anything you've ever seen, probably going to be more hesitant to buy it.
I think I've said this before. I'm not sure if it was on the podcast or not, but I think Gen 1 of the Cybertruck will be bought by mostly Tesla fans, tech YouTubers, people who are going to buy electric cars anyways. But Gen 2 of the Cybertruck is going to be bought by truck people.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement to say, especially once the first wave goes out and people see that it actually can compete and possibly overcompete with the leading truck models, that later on, more serious people in the business will definitely pick it up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So we have not done a quarantine time segment in the past couple episodes, but quarantine time is typically we talk about content, and a lot of people have started listening to podcasts. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, but Joe Rogan, the number one podcast in the world ever, I'm pretty sure, he just signed a $100 million deal to go exclusively to Spotify later this year. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe it's in September. He's supposed to sign over. I think it's. I mean, we were discussing this a little earlier before recording. I think he could have asked for more money, and I definitely think that pay will increase. And I think that this is going to be the end of Apple Podcasts.
You think?
Because I mean, as you said, he's the biggest podcaster in the world, and he was basically anchoring down Apple Podcasts. I mean, he's really the only big name person that was on that platform, and especially since Apple Podcasts is, I believe, only available for Apple product users.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a huge loss to them.
Yeah, I think that Google Podcasts might survive this. I'm not really sure though. Google's obviously such a big company that they could probably afford to lose money on it anyways.
Apple too. I think that and it was also weird that I saw is that they're also going to be off of YouTube as well.
Yeah, he's not gonna. I think they're gonna be on YouTube and Spotify for a little bit, like a transition period, and then they're gonna go exclusive.
What I've heard, all I've really seen is I've read a few articles and I saw the Twitter post. He came out explaining the deal. From what I heard, it's that I believe the videos are also going to be transferring over
Yeah.
to Spotify.
Yep.
Which I don't know how they're going to do that because video content isn't. It's not really been on Spotify's
Not
platform.
Spotify's. Yeah. It'll be definitely interesting to see. $100 million is obviously an insane amount of money, but I think that Joe Rogan brings more than $100 million of value to Spotify.
I mean, he's the biggest name in it.
Well, and he'll attract more podcasts to go on to Spotify. Because if
For
people who
sure.
are starting out,
It's the same as like the Ninja Mixer deal
yeah.
down later last year. Yeah. So as he goes over, more people are definitely going to go over to Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll be making a
definitely-
Spotify account.
But,
I said I'll definitely be making a Spotify account.
yeah.
All right, so that about wraps it up. We're moving into our trending topic for this week, which is slightly controversial. The New York Times posted an article titled "The End of Meat is Here." It was an opinion article, but they made some pretty bold claims. They started off, obviously, commenting on how Trump ordered slaughterhouses to reopen, saying that was a bad idea because of large infection numbers, which might be true, but America needs food, so...
Yeah.
And then they went on to say we cannot protect our environment while continuing to eat meat, and we cannot protect against pandemics while continuing to eat meat. And then attack the factory farming corporations by saying, can't we work with factory farming corporations to improve the food system? No. That's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah. I definitely think that houses shouldn't be open. Mainly based on just the close quarters climates that workers have to work in. I mean, you're pretty close to
Mm-hmm.
the person you're working next to. Also, I mean, just you're working with meat, so it's not the most sanitary environment.
Right.
I'll have to look into the articles and stuff surrounding it more. So from what I got, so what are they saying is that
I think
to open up that slaughterhouses, but the like food organizations are saying don't open them yet. Is that the basic gist?
it's Trump ordering slaughterhouses to reopen. I'm not sure what the industry thinks of that. I'm sure they want more money. And then the New York Times, this is going to sound it's going to sound like an assumption, but from what I've gathered, they're using the coronavirus as a way to attack the meat industry. Factory farming is obviously terrible, but
Yeah.
we are not in a position to fight two different wars, a war against factory farming and a war against the coronavirus right now.
Yeah, I mean, but I also like the statement of how you said is that, I mean, we need a way to feed the country.
Right.
I've heard that like some areas have completely run out. I believe it was like chicken. You said
Yeah.
a few episodes back. While the farms have like they've been forced to kill chickens, not because
Not
no,
because no one's
they have
buying.
they have farms, but there's no way to get it from the farms
Right.
to the factories and then to consumers.
Yeah, I was reading something the other day saying that having to kill all those animals for no reason, it was having like a psychological effect on the workers who were doing it, and that's literally their job. So, just gives a hint
Yeah.
of how big the scale is, how large the scale is.
I think that that really does play into of how this pandemic, it's not just about the virus, it's about, I mean, how you said the economy, and it's like it's going to be the recovering process of after all this is done, getting back onto our feet and getting to a normal way of life.
Right.
um I think sure restaurants are going to be hit some of the hardest. I've know a lot of towns, a lot of shops downtown are probably not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
um a lot of like clothing shops and restaurants that don't do home deliveries are probably uh, not going to make it through, or if they do, have a long time to do financially recover.
Tourist towns are definitely going to be hit really hard. I'm sure
Yeah, like beach towns.
people's first priority will not be to go take trips. I'm sure, so that's a loss of revenue.
I think it's we're going to be feeling the effects of this surely into next year and probably even into next summer.
Yeah, definitely. Going back to stage three, back to I think stage three is mostly normal. That's reopening schools. That's not planned until 2021, and I have a feeling that that's going to be delayed too.
Yeah, I hope predictions have been entirely wrong so far.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do hope we're back in school by the fall. I don't think I think that online learning won't survive that long without having serious changes made to
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, but also, I think we touched on it last episode of how like colleges are still charging full tuitions for online classes,
Yep.
which I think is outrageous. And also, at, what was I say? Oh yeah, I've heard that schools, if they go back, they might be having kids wear masks and protective equipment during class.
Well, that's not going to work.
I just don't see it happening.
There's no. I honestly think that the school system, especially the school system where we live, is capable of making change that quickly. First off, second off, I don't think that you can effectively mandate Well, you can effectively mandate masks. I don't think that you can trust a bunch of 6 through 18-year-olds to correctly put on a mask every morning and to keep it on. And you can't keep them all quarantined while they're eating lunch, and you obviously can't eat with a mask on. It's just a lot of logistics problems with that I don't think are possible.
The I think we touched on it earlier. Not North Korea, South Korea, and also I've heard Sweden and areas in like Scandinavia regions. Um, they've done they've like done, we have 8 AB day.
Right.
They do, you only go to school on a certain day, so they basically split the classes in half.
To decrease
Either
the
go to
people.
school, so you either go to school on A day, and you have online learning on the B day, and then vice versa for the second group of kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Heard that most schools that are open now, that's how they've been doing it. Is
Right.
half the school goes to school at a time, while the other half does the online learning.
I think that would be ideal, but like I said earlier, I really don't trust our school system to keep us safe. I don't
I
think.
don't think that I don't think that they could, especially not just areas in Maryland, but I don't think any schools, unless like they're out in the middle of nowhere, could do the half day because our school's what 2,400 kids.
At least. How many classes? Well, you're in STEM. How many people are in your classes normally?
It's about 15 to 20.
So standard classes. Well, I'm in honors classes, so those probably are still a little lower. But we've got anywhere from.
I think it's around 2,400 because I think it's about 600 per class.
That sounds about right. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
easily 24 to. I think anywhere from 20 to 30 plus kids per class. Isn't an unreasonable
I
estimate.
just don't think that they have, especially with doing on-off transportations for different days. I just
Yeah.
don't think that would have to be an all or nothing thing.
Well, the
Um,
buses would have to run at full capacity too, unless it was by area. Um, so interesting to see how we'll cope with this moving forward.
I just think that if they do extend it into the 2020-2021 school year, online schooling is going to have serious changes, especially in this area.
They need to completely rework online school. It's honestly terrible the way that it's
I think
functioning.
that the main problem is that I can't speak so much for your teachers, but for mine, it's that I really thought this was going to happen until it did.
Yeah, I that's definitely true. I don't think that a lot of people accepted the fact that our first 2 week closure would be lasting a lot longer than it actually was planned
Yeah.
for.
I think that
Firstly,
the first mistake made was, I mean, I remember even in one of our classes we talked about they were talking about how like the before it spread out of China, how they were talking about how China was almost like the rest of the world was almost overreacting to the size of the problem.
yeah,
I remember one person said that this is when the cases were still in like around the like tens of thousands.
hmm
And yeah, it's only like 15,000 cases, but out of China's 1.2 billion person population. So when you look at it that way, it's not that bad. And then 2 weeks later, all the schools in the state are closed. So I
yeah.
just think that people waited too long and kind of just ignored the problem. And then once it finally came, they just didn't have any time for preparations.
Unfortunately, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Because if you closed everything down early and it ended up being unnecessary, people would hate you. But if you didn't close down early enough, which unfortunately I think is what's happening now, and it is a big problem, um, tremendous loss of life will occur.
I think that the problem now will be, especially as we were saying that there's a possibility of a second wave hitting. It's I feel that for a while we're going to have a paranoia,
Mm-hmm.
so that like whenever the next um, it won't even have to be the next big thing, but like the next time even a smaller, like even a harmless virus breaks out, I think that we're going to be too over precautious and go into another like semi lockdown thing just
Right.
because we don't want it to get out of control and then it's going to be nothing.
Well, I was listening to some other podcast, I can't remember, and it was saying that this could be a good thing because it's kind of a practice run for if
That's
an
like,
extremely deadly virus ever actually comes up.
yeah,
So it's obviously the loss of life is terrible, but in the long run, I think that this is a good thing.
I think we're going to be more prepared for next time when something worse comes to hit.
hmm So I think that's all for our trending topic. We kind of pivoted on that one.
Do you want to hop on into time capsule?
Time capsule. We
I
have
believe we're on the first set of round two, or do we still have one more?
we have one more first round matchup.
One more.
So we've got 1980 versus 1990. From 1980, we have Call Me, Another Brick in the Wall, Magic, Rock With You, and Another One Bites the Dust. And then The Shining, for some reason, Jack's favorite Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Raging Bull, and Airplane. And then from 1990, we have Hold On, It Must Have Been Love, Nothing Compares to You, Poison, and Vogue. And we have Goodfellas, Total Recall, Home Alone, Dances with Wolves, and Misery. This is a pretty close matchup, but I think I've got my decision made. What about you?
I have my decision, but here's what I gotta say. Um, I'm leaning a little bit more towards 1980. Um, I think the movies outrank it, but then again, bro, 1990 has Home Alone, which is the greatest Christmas movie ever
Oh
made.
yeah, 100%.
It's the best thing ever. I think that I mean, so that has a huge toll for that year. Um, the music, not as much. I think the music from 80s a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Another One Bites the Dust Queen and Rock With You by Michael Jackson. And then The Shining. I think that's a great adaptation of King's work, especially
Stephen King
just from
hated
a
it though. Wasn't that the weird thing? Like Stephen King hated it.
like it.
Yeah.
Which I've always found it weird is that people who are fascinated with King's work, or like people who like the movies, normally won't like the books because they're so different. Because King's mind on the page is like so outlandish.
Right.
Like how I think as confusing as I believe it was It Two's the explanation for what they had for the how to like destroy Pennywise from It Two was as crazy as that was. Like the book version is even
Even
weirder.
crazier. Yeah, but I feel like they had to kind of dumb it down for the movie.
Yeah, I think you have to do that for almost every single Stephen King movie adaptation because there's like no way to explain it in a reasonable runtime for a movie. I think
Yeah,
if you were to do it the normal way, it would have to be like a 3+ hour movie.
and you kind of know what you're getting into when you pick up that, what, 600, maybe even 700 page book.
But even more, I think that his it's like 1,300 pages long.
How many pages is it?
A lot of his books go on.
1138. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of pages. The
Then
Shining was
again,
only 447 though.
yeah, and then Empire, the best Star Wars movie of the original trilogy.
You're wrong.
I'm right.
Okay.
And then Airplane, I've heard is just like a classic '80s comedy movie.
I think the way that
Comedy.
go ahead.
Go on. No, I ended my thought.
Oh, okay. So I think that 1990 takes movies. I think that 1980 takes music, but I think that 1980s music has a higher advantage over 1990s music than 1990s music movies have over 1980s movies, if that makes any sense.
I'll agree with you on that. Yeah.
So 1980, moving on, correct? Okay. So first round 2 matchup, we've got 2012 versus 1991. Starting with 1991 rather. We have I Do It For You by Bryan Adams, I Wanna Sex You Up by Color Me Bad, Gonna Make You Sweat by CNC Music Factory, Rush Rush by Paula Abdul, and One More Try by Timmy T. And then Silence of the Lambs, Terminator 2, Point Break, Beauty and the Beast, and Raise the Red Lantern. And from 2012, we have Somebody That I Used to Know, Call Me Maybe, We Are Young, Payphone, and Lights. And then Dark Knight Rises, Avengers, Skyfall, Zero Dark 30, Life of Pi, and The Hobbit.
Okay. I think
This is a tough one.
category that like outweighs the other. Like looking at movies first, but movies are pretty good on both fronts.
Right.
So you said you're a good fan of Terminator 2.
Mm-hmm.
Point Break, I watched a little bit of last night, which was pretty good. And then I think just 2012 might take for movies. Maybe because I've seen more of them, or I've seen them more recently.
Right.
As I've voiced before, I think Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy is the greatest superhero movie collection that's been made.
I'll agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I think that it's done just from like a cinematic perspective. It's done what Marvel has yet to do.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. Then you line that up. You have also Avengers that came out the same year, which started the most. I think it's the most financially successful.
Superhero.
Not superhero. Like I think even like movie.
Oh, like almost series collection,
series,
I guess.
Yeah, movie series. Yeah, collection. There's a word. Yeah. Life of Pi I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely worth watching if you have time.
Skyfall was good too.
Yeah, for sure. And then for music,
I don't really have a preference for this one, to be honest with you.
I think I'll probably go 2012 for movies over 91.
I hate
What's your opinion?
I hate to knock Silence of the Lamb and Terminator 2 out, but I think I might have to go with you on this one.
Yeah.
So we got 2012 moving on to round 3.
Yep.
And then we have 2019 versus 2016 is our next matchup. Starting off with 2016, we have Love Yourself, Sorry, One Dance, Work, and Stressed Out, and Moonlight, La La Land, Manchester by the Sea, Arrival, and Captain America: Civil War. And from 2019, we have Old Town Road, Bad Guy, Call Altura, Sucker, Circles. And for movies, we have Parasite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Endgame, Knives Out, and Joker. What's your thoughts?
Um, I think that I mean I'm leaning definitely further towards 2019 on this one, maybe because it's more recent. But I think the movies from last year were some of the best I've seen in recent time.
Definitely. There's a little bit of everything in that too, because
Yeah.
Parasite was a horror movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was just
Yeah. I mean, go on. I'll let
Once
you
Upon a
finish.
Time in Hollywood was just it was another Tarantino movie, which is its own style. Endgame was it was a funny-ish movie. It was also serious, and obviously the its impact was insane. Everybody's freaking out about that. Knives Out, I watched that the couple weeks ago. It was a great movie, and Joker obviously also kind of a darker movie, but it also
Yeah.
had a huge impact on
And
people.
I'm also thinking into like some of the other movies that aren't on this list. I said I really liked Jojo Rabbit from last year.
Hmm.
Also, I don't know if have you seen Ford vs Ferrari?
Yeah, I watched that with
I think
Christian
that
Bale and
was
Matt Damon.
yeah, I think that was really good.
Yeah,
Really, it was kind of first time you'd really see a like, actiony car movie that got Academy Award attention,
it was the
which I
only.
thought was really cool.
I think it's one of the only car movies that have ever been taken seriously. Even though
Because I
Fast
mean,
and Furious is huge, it's
it's
Fast and
got
Furious.
it's been bogged down in the
Hmm.
recent installments. Um,
I think
I think
we're both just disregarding the music. I really don't like many of the songs that came out either year.
me neither. I don't have a preference for either of those two, but it just the movies from last year were astronomical.
Yeah, it's almost an unbeatable combo in my opinion. The music's a little weak. I think it'll be interesting to see what gets matched up against 2019.
Yeah, for sure.
So
But yeah,
2019, moving on,
definitely.
round three. Next matchup, second to last, I believe, we have 1997 versus 1986. For 86, we have one moment. That's What Friends Are For, Say You, Say Me, I Miss You, On My Own, and Broken Wings. And for movies, we have Alien, Platoon, Top Gun, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Stand By Me. And from 1997, we have Candle in the Wind, Foolish Games, I'll Be Missing You, Unbreak My Heart, Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. And then Titanic, Goodwill Hunting, Contact, Boogie Nights, and The Ice Storm. This is a pretty close matchup, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm a sucker for the '80s. And one of my favorite '80s movies is in there. Um, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, great
Right.
movie. I love that movie. Stand By Me, I think, is one of my favorite Stephen King movies. Um, I mean, we both voiced our like for Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
And Platoon and Alien were both classics. Um, Movies for '97. The ones that really just stand out for me on that were Titanic and Goodwill Hunting. Um,
Yeah, even if you put those up against, if you just line them up one and one, Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Top Gun kind of, I'd
yeah,
say that are
that
about the same
you
level.
added, and then you added the other ones, and it just
There's
the
no,
I think.
there's nothing to beat Aliens, Platoon, and Stand By Me. So again, the
Um,
music's toss up. Doesn't really matter in my opinion.
Music is more of a toss up. Let me see. We have an Elton John, I think, on both fronts. Um,
Yeah, he was featured on one on That's What Friends Are For, and then Candle in the Wind.
I think it was our first recording though of had technical difficulties. That
Yeah.
Chameleon was good, but it wasn't as big as some of his other songs that he came out with. Um,
What's your favorite Elton John song? It's kind of
what, I mean, I like Rocket Man, but that's also like a cliche to say almost.
yeah, that's true.
Problem with like last year, all the big um movies about like musical bands.
Hmm.
Queen had one, the Beatles had one, Elton John had one.
Elton
That
John's was kind of dark.
yeah, um, Bruce Springsteen had one.
Hmm.
Um, like all of their like great songs. If you say that you like them now, it's like cliche because you're like, oh, you just saw the movie, so you like that song now.
Yeah, Rocket Man. I mean, nothing wrong with being cliche. It's his most well known song for a reason. It's a great song, but he had a lot of
Yeah,
range. He had Tiny Dancer, Your Song, and then he also had more upbeat songs like Crocodile Rock and I'm losing it. I'm Still Standing. There we go. It
yeah, yeah. I like that one too. Um, I think that just overall looking at the movies again, like 1980 takes it.
there's there's no counter.
Yeah.
So 1980, moving on, or 1986 rather. Sorry. And for our final matchup this week, we have 2003 versus 1975. Pretty far spread. From 1975, we have Love Will Keep Us Together, Rhinestone Cowboy, another Elton John song, Philadelphia Freedom. Before the Next Teardrop Falls, My Eyes Adored You. Then we have Dog Day Afternoon, Jaws, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Nashville, and Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And from 2003, we have Indie Club, Ignition, Get Busy, Crazy in Love, and When I'm Gone. And Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Finding Nemo, Kill Bill, School of Rock, and Big Fish. This is another. It's pretty close to me, but I think I've got a solid pick.
I don't have much of a preference on this one. Really, I could lean either way. I'm not the hugest fan of really. I'm fans of like parts of them. Like I like Jaws. Um, I liked Kill Bill and School of Rock, but there's nothing really on either side that I fall into so much. Maybe it's not because I'm not as introduced to the music and movies on both
Mhm.
sides entirely. So I'll probably just. What's your opinion on it?
Like I said, close matchup, but I think that the deciding factors are Indie Club and Ignition, and then Kill Bill and School of Rock from 2003, and from 1975, it's Philadelphia Freedom, Jaws, and Monty Python. I personally prefer 2003's music. The movies could go either way, so I think my
Yeah.
opinion would be a solid pass by 2003, but not.
As I said, I wasn't really caring to either side too much. I could definitely go. Yeah, I think that 2003 has a better overall, especially I know Kill Bill is really good. Like
Right.
School Rock with Jack Black. Um, I'll go with that one. Sorry with
Hey,
you.
2000.
Oh
Yeah,
three.
let's. O three is moving on. So that's all from us this week. That is all of our matchups. So,
Next week, however, next week the next week I'll fight you on some ones if you decide differently
all
for me.
right,
So we're gonna have to get a third person on.
we might have to do so. Break up some ties.
Yep.
So make sure to stay subscribed for that. Like Jack hinted, we may or may not have a guest on next week. And then obviously stay on for episode 10, the shocking conclusion of our time capsule series.
It's gonna be chaotic.
It's going to be, we've got some big things planned.
Yeah. As I said, thanks for watching. Tune back in next week. We'll hopefully have this up either tomorrow or the day after. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Yep. Stay at home, obviously. And as usual, be good people.